On May 2nd, get ready to escape. Isis, Escape from Transylvania. The goddess next door and John Haynes must escape a horde of vampires on the hunt in this horror-filled Isis series adventure. Get Isis, Escape from Transylvania in paperback and e-reader May 2nd. When I first went to college back in 1993, one of the first courses I took was Introduction to Business. And as I took that course, I learned about economic systems. Now, an economic system is a way a nation allocates its resources. And when it comes down to a gynocentric nation like the United States of America, the economic system is designed to allocate resources towards women at the expense of men. And how they allocate these resources is not through just giving women jobs, but making sure that there is a pool of simps out there who will provide supplemental income to women tax-free. Now, the simp is a major part of the gynocentric state, and he's a major part of the gynocentric economy. And the reason why the simp is so important to the gynocentric economy is this. He is the one who will be the one providing resources to most of the women in the country. And because he's the one who provides the resources to the women in the country, that is why he is a valued asset to women in the gynocentric state. This is why companies will go out of their way to hire a simp first over a regular man, and this is why women will go out of their way to help a simp out before they go out here and deal with a regular, responsible, conscientious man. Because if they deal with the regular, conscientious, responsible man, that regular, conscientious, responsible man, he is going to insist that this woman meet his standard for a relationship and not take what the woman says at face value. Because when it comes down to the simp is the guy who will go out here and he has absolutely no standards as related to the women who he pursues for relationships, and he has no standards for how the money is spent when he is involved in relationships with women. And because he has absolutely no standards, they can set all the parameters for how money is spent on them. And because the woman is dictating how the money is spent, she can make sure that all the money that the simp is spending is all focused on her and not focused on meeting anybody else's needs but hers. And the simp drives the American economy because he is the one who goes out here on a quest to spend money in an effort to impress females. Because he believes that if he spends money out here to impress the females, eventually he will get something in exchange called social currency. And social currency has the highest value to the simp because the simp's main reason for pursuing certain women isn't that he loves the woman or he loves the woman's company. It's because he wants to get social currency with others. Because when it comes down to a simp is a very insecure person, and he believes that he has to have certain attachments in order to get attention and approval from people who he wants to get the attention of. Because when it comes down to the simp, he is always on a quest for social currency with people who he believes are popular. And this is why he will go out of his way to buy things like the most expensive cell phone, like an iPhone X, because he wants to get the attention that the iPhone will get him from popular people. And this is why he'll go out of his way to go out here and buy designer clothes and expensive cars, because he wants to get the attention of the most popular people. Because every dollar that he spends is a covert contract, whether it be a dollar he spends on a woman or a dollar he spends on himself. Every dollar he spends is part of a covert contract to get the attention and approval of people who he wants to be in his social circle. Because the simp, he is a man who does not have the confidence or the self-esteem to go out here and just be himself. No, he has to hide behind designer clothes. He has to hide behind designer shoes. He has to hide behind expensive cars. He has to hide behind expensive phones. And he has to hide behind women because he doesn't feel secure enough in himself to stand out here and be a man on his own. And this is why he spends so much money because he wants people to see him as a big shot and see him as a powerful person. And he uses the money as a way for people to see him this way. And this drives the American economy because all the money he's spending usually winds up making a lot of people rich at his own expense because he believes that if he goes out here and buys the latest, the finest, and the best, people will be impressed by all of the things he has. And the other thing he thinks is that if he goes out here and gets the most, if he buys the stuff, he will get the attention of the most attractive females out here. And he believes that if he has all of these things, he will be able to exchange it all for some social currency with the popular people who he wants to be friends with. And this is how he again drives our economy because the simp is on an endless quest for attention, he's on an endless quest for popularity, and he's on an endless quest for social acceptance. And in order to get that popularity and that social acceptance, a simp will literally spend himself into the poorhouse. This is why you will see a simp go out here and spend $50 on a dozen roses to take to a female at her job. This is why you will see a simp go out here and spend $500 to take a woman to one of these five-star restaurants in the hopes of getting her attention. This is why you will see a simp out here spending $70,000 on an Escalade when he's got a $25,000 a year job and struggling to make most of the payments because he wants to get the attention of people, he wants to get social currency, and he values social currency more than money and even more than his intangibles of manhood, which include his dignity, his self-respect, his self-worth, and his self-value. And this is why these guys will go out of their way to go out here and spend so much money because they believe that with every dollar they spend in this covert contract, they will eventually get more brownie points with females and with the people who are popular in their social circle that they want to get the attention of. Now, social currency doesn't have an actual economic value because social currency is something that is an intangible concept. In order for an asset to have actual economic value, it has to be a fixed tangible asset and it has to be either rare or in demand by a group of people. But the simp sees social currency as having value because it allows him an opportunity to purchase the attention of people who he likes or purchase the approval of people who he likes. And that's how a simp becomes a trick because a simp is willing to sacrifice his financial assets in order to get the intangible of social currency or the possibility of social currency. And he's willing to sell his fixed tangible assets like his cash or the attachment he buys in the hopes of getting that attention and approval of either the woman who he wants to have a relationship with or the more popular people who he wants to get the attention of. And this is something people need to understand about simps, is that simps don't only simp on women, they also simp for the attention and approval of more popular men. Because the whole thing with the simp is he wants to climb the social ladder and he wants to use money as the tool to propel himself up this social ladder. And because the simp goes out here and he uses money to propel himself up the social ladder, in most cases, this is one of the main reasons why people do not respect a simp. Because the simp is using the money as a way to get the attention and approval of others and not going out here and just being himself. Because when it comes down to the simp, again, he does not have the confidence or the self-esteem to just go out here and be himself. No, he cannot go out here without his attachments to hide behind or the skirt of the female who he's chasing to hide behind. And because he needs these attachments and these security blankets, this is one of the reasons why he spends so much money and why he drives the American economy. Because he believes that if he has all of these attachments and he has this attractive woman, that people will see his actual value. But instead, ironically, most people see how worthless he actually is because they see how little self confidence he has and how little self worth he has because he does not value himself. He values these attachments more than himself. And that's why people don't see him as a valuable person because he does not value himself. And because he does not value himself and does not respect himself, this is why others do not respect a simp. And this is one of the things that he tries to buy, but you cannot buy the intangible of respect because the intangible of respect is something you earn by just having the courage to be yourself no matter wherever you go. And this is why simps usually try to spend themselves into the poorhouse because you're trying to use social currency in the hopes of getting respect, attention, and approval of others. Many of these people who just don't care about the simp because of his approach to people. Because his approach to people is he's going to hide behind things and hide behind his attachments, hide behind females who he wants to have on his arm, and hide behind designer clothes and shoes instead of just having the courage to go out here and be the best him he can possibly be. And the simp will go out here and he will propel the American economy by spending money to impress women. And all he does is wind up spending himself into the poorhouse, not only economically, but morally and spiritually, because when it comes down to the simp, all the money he's spending is all to spend on other people in order to get attention and approval for himself. But all it does is leave him poor at the end of the day because he doesn't get the intangible things he wants from spending all that money. Now, in this gynocentric state, women often like having the simp around because he provides them with the easiest access to resources and resources that are tax free. Because when it comes down to most women have three sources of income. Their first source of income is the pay that they get from their job. The second source of income usually is money that they get from their parents or from child support or from a government program like a welfare or a Section 8. The third source of income, which is one of the most profitable sources of income, comes from a pool of simps. And these simps can be anyone from the store owner who gives her free coffee to the guy who goes out of his way to drive her around in his car, or to the guy who takes her out on these fancy dinners and buys her all these expensive gifts. All of that is money that supplements her, and all of that is money that she gets tax free from this pool of simps. And she gets all of this money at these guys' expense because, again, in most cases, when it comes down to the simp places the higher value on the social currency than on the economic assets. And because he places the highest value on social currency, he is willing to spend all of his economic assets in order to get this intangible of social currency in order to exchange it for popularity with people who he wants to be popular with. And when it comes down to the simp, this is how he drives our economy, and this is why he was one of the reasons he is so motivated to keep spending money. Because when it comes down to the simp wants to be the most popular person in the room, and again, he believes that he has to spend money in order to get the popularity. What he doesn't understand is that what makes a person popular, again, is having that confidence to be themselves and like themselves, because when a person likes themselves, other people will like them, and they will learn to value those people instead of trying to chase the attention and approval of others. And this is why the simp is usually so disappointed at the end of the day, is because he spends so much money and he gets so little in return for what he's spending all his money on. So for all the money he has spent to get the attention and approval of these females and these so-called cool people, he often winds up realizing he has nothing of any real value because most of the people who are with him are only with him for the money, and most of the people just don't respect him because most of the people who he's chasing, most of those people are talking about him behind his back, making fun of him, and laughing at him because they value the money and they value the things that they get from the simp, but they don't value him as a person. And because they don't value him as a person, they see him as a joke. And this is one of the things that hurts the simp the most is and keeps him spending is because he thinks that he can spend his way to getting self-esteem, but the only way to get self-esteem is to learn how to value you more than the money you have in your pocket. If you want to learn more about simps, I urge you to pick up my paperback and ebook, Stop Simping, Why Men Don't Need Finance to Get Romance. And it's a book that will teach you why you should not go out here and submit and defer to females and try to get their attention and approval, and why social currency has absolutely no value at all. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.